How many crazy things can one family do in half a decade? Well, if you're the Smith family, I would say, all of them? The Smith family has been in major gossip sources almost every month for the past 3 years. It seems as though they may never catch a break, but more importantly, it seems like we, the gossip people, will never run out of content and anecdotes. Jumping right in, we have their separation. Jada recently revealed that the pair, who everyone assumed was still unhappily married, have actually been separated for years, and everything that has happened between the two since 2016 has all occurred when they were not in an official relationship, and wow, a lot has happened. The separation was revealed alongside a myriad of other strange confessions and was followed by some even crazier revelations, which we will get into. The two say that they have always loved each other very deeply and that they always will, even going so far as to say that they are not planning to divorce, but they wanted to officially separate and provide each other space, which brings us to our next point. Up next is the revelation that Jada and Will were in an open marriage. I mean, this comes as no surprise to anyone, right? Like, come on. Now, a couple years back, this was all anyone was talking about. How Will Smith and Jada were in an open relationship, but only Jada was partaking openly, and by that I mean in the public eye. The man that Jada had begun a relationship with actually moved into the house with the happy husband and wife. This arrangement definitely created an even more tense environment for the group of them, and I can't imagine having to live with that. I mean, my parents split up earlier this year, and living with them even for 1 month while things got packed up was a pretty awkward and tense experience. Thinking of one of them inviting their partner to come live with us? Yeah, I'd press pause on that one. Some secrets should not come out, like Jada's hesitation to marry and the emotional reaction that she had on her wedding day. Jada and Will got married when they were very young, and it was actually Jada's mother who pressured her into the marriage because she really liked Will and saw a lot of potential in him. However, that decision aged poorly, obviously. For Will's birthday, she posted a fairly old photo of them with their 2 kids and one of Jada's sons from her previous relationship. Many fans sent birthday wishes, but there were a good amount, who made snarky remarks and rehashed lines from Red Table Talks, contradicting the photo in the post. Some people commented on how she didn't love him romantically, and a clip came up of her saying how she cried all the way down the aisle because she did not want to be married to him, and how she felt pressured to be wed even though she never wanted to get married. Next up, we have the bonus son. While many know of the existence of Jaden and Willow Smith, not a lot know about the existence of the third son. Trey Smith was the product of Will's previous marriage to Cherie Zampino and tends to fly under the radar in the eye of the media. In 2018, Jada brought Zampino on her show and spilled the tea on the real story behind Trey, their relationship to each other, and Will's role as his biological father. For many Smith fans, this is the first time anyone had even heard about Trey. Will claims that he had to distance himself from Trey and his mother following the divorce. Will recounts struggling to maintain a healthy enough relationship with Zampino for him to play the role of Trey's father figure. Trey was raised by his mom alone, growing up feeling betrayed and abandoned by Will. Eventually, Will made amends and became a proper part of Trey's life, but for a long time, Trey was kept hidden from the public, surely leaving a stain on the family unit that can never be washed away. Next up, Complex Grandpa. This one is really dark. Like, okay, kind of in a funny way, because it's not actually dark, I guess. Like, the dark thing didn't happen, but no, yeah, it's pretty dark. Will Smith released a memoir called Will in 2021 that was chock full of info that you would have to waterboard out of me or pay me a huge sum of money. Okay, yeah, I get it. Well, proceed. The actor explains that while he was growing up, his father physically harmed himself and his mom on continuous and frequent occasions. So, in return for this treatment, he vowed to seek revenge for his mother when he was older and capable of more. Eventually, his father was diagnosed with cancer, and Will was forced to care for him while he was bedridden. Will saw this as the perfect opportunity to take his dad down. He wrote, "One night, as I delicately wheeled him from his bedroom toward the bathroom, a darkness arose within me." He then went on to describe the moment he contemplated pushing him down the stairs. He noted that no one would have suspected him, and the moment was just perfect. He wrote, "I'm one of the best actors in the world. My 911 call would be Academy Award level." Will ultimately decided not to end his father's life, instead taking care of him until his passing in 2016. Of natural causes, I think. Next is dating pre-Slapgate. Ahead of the release of her new book, Worthy, Jada Pinkett Smith has revealed revealed a ton of information once thought to just be rumors. Well, we've already covered the fact that she has been separated from Will Smith for a while now. Another fun piece of information has also been revealed. I don't know if it's fun, but it's information. Anyway, it's been revealed that before Chris Rock was slapped across the face by Will Smith live at the Oscars, Chris had actually asked Jada Pinkett Smith out on a date. Now, when you hear that, you must think, oh, he asked her out before they even met. Nope. This situation actually took place in 2016 at the height of the first round of separation rumors, which it turned out are completely true. At the time, Chris either had some inside info or he believes everything he reads online. According to Jada, Chris reached out and shot his shot, I guess. He called and he said he would love to take her out, which she was like, why? He clarified and told Jada he was under the impression that herself and Will were getting a divorce for real. When she revealed that this wasn't the case, Chris was so embarrassed and began to apologize over and over. Though they eventually moved past the moment, it may explain why Will Smith was so aggressive with Rock at the Oscars. There's no way he was unaware of the situation. Next up, we have the Smiths' self-raised tots. Rumors have been flying around for years that Willow and Jaden Smith basically raised themselves. Their upbringing was nothing to scoff at. Jaden was on track to becoming an actor after starring in the 2008 remake of the classic Karate Kid series alongside martial arts and opera legend Jackie Chan, but later shifted his focus to a more entrepreneurial side of things, developing his own fashion brand, which has garnered him massive success. His sister Willow opted to stick with her creative roots, however, has made quite the name for herself in music. Unfortunately, their behavior comes from a place of neglect. During an episode of Red Table Talk, Jaden confronted his parents, calling out their terrible parenting skills. With both being so busy in their careers, they were never home to care for the youngsters. Jaden and Willow recount spending a majority of their childhood with various nannies and teachers, only seeing their parents between projects or if they were working with their parents, like Jaden and Will in The Pursuit of Happiness. It turns out they were all well aware of the whole separation thing from the very beginning as well. Will and Jada must have been waiting until the kids were financially independent and out of the house to finally call it quits, something they should have done a lot sooner. In that same vein, we have the horrid story of Willow Smith's stalker. In 2021, on her mother's talk show Red Table Talk, Willow Smith revealed the heartbreaking, terrifying tale of her being cyber-stalked. Cyber-stalking is a little bit more insidious and scary. This guy was doing that to me, and he was actually doing that to me for a couple of years. He basically got my patterns, Willow Smith had stated. In December 2020, while on a vacation and absent from her house, the stalker broke into her home. Her mother, Jada Pinkett Smith, located a camp that was set up behind the house, created by the stalker. His intention was to wait for Willow to return home. Jada immediately called the police, and the authorities recommended throwing out the contents of the fridge and cabinets in case the stalker had placed something harmful in the food. Willow Smith decided to take the stalker to court, filing for a restraining order against him. It was discovered that the man had been stalking her online for years. The restraining order was granted, but Willow Smith still has severe trauma from the whole experience. Next up, we have the birthday brawl, literally. For Jada's 37th birthday, Will decided it would be a great idea to throw a massive surprise party. Now, it wasn't just their celebrity friends, some close family and what have you. He hired party planners to set it up and spent 3 days planning and getting everything ready, which really isn't that much time. He even booked Mary J. Blige to perform for her. Talk about a birthday gift. But that was not all. He traced her family roots and invited her family members from her long line of lineage. Not only did he find her family, he went out of his way to reach out and invite them to the party. You'd think she'd appreciate this labor of love, but instead she threw it back in his face, claiming he only did it to display his ego, and she hated the fact that he went out of his way to throw a party. He admitted he was devastated when she said those hurtful things, and it even sent him on a downward spiral that negatively impacted his life. This should have been one of the biggest of many red flags. I mean, if somebody just brought my entire family just from nowhere, that would be pretty scary. I don't think I'd like that either. I'm kind of with Jada on this one. Finally, we have Tupac. Jada was in a long-term relationship with Tupac years before she met Will, and his untimely passing was the end of their relationship. It's normal and even healthy to miss someone who passed, especially when you were romantically involved with them for years. But in 2012, while she and Will were still married, she posted a picture of her and Tupac in a very intimate embrace, and she captioned the photo, "I miss him." It makes sense wanting to share your deep feelings with the world, especially when they're affecting you the most, but that was a questionable photo to choose to post, especially when you're married to someone else. Not to mention, Will and Jada's daughter Willow wrote a letter addressed to Tupac after he passed because Willow claimed she knew he was still alive. One of the lines in the letter read, "Can you please come back so mommy and me can be happy. I think my mommy really misses you." It seems sweet and rather innocent, but at a young age she was aware of how much he still had a hold on Jada, and she wanted him to come back into their lives, which at that point seemed like it could have been the end of Will and Jada's marriage. Nothing came of it, obviously, but it makes you question how much Willow actually knew about the situation.
Will Smith is an interesting person to say the least, and over the last couple years, he's been in controversy after controversy. He's being tied to disgraced music mogul Diddy, and that is not a good thing. Will Smith has been caught up in the mess thanks to Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal. A little while ago, it was claimed that a tape of a freak-off involving Diddy and an A-list male celebrity was making the rounds in the market. It was also revealed that not only one, but multiple people are selling the tape, and that the faces of both Diddy and the mysterious man can be seen on it. Now, Gene Deal believes that the other guy could be Will Smith. Deal appeared for an interview with The Art of Dialogue and opened up about the tapes that are apparently circulating in the market. As per the sources who confided in the Post, the mystery male A-lister on the alleged tape is horrified to learn that the compromising footage is being shopped around to media outlets. Talking about the tape in question, Deal wondered if the unidentified celebrity was black or white. If he's black, then the former bodyguard is almost convinced that it's either Smith or Nick Cannon. If I'm looking at any black guys that are A-listers that's bigger than Diddy is, only one that I could come up with, or there's a few I could come up with, Will Smith. He's bigger than Diddy. I would think Nick Cannon is bigger than Diddy. He then mentioned that rat pack that Diddy hung out with and stated that the man could be Kushner or Leonardo too, referring to Ashton Kutcher and Leonardo DiCaprio. Yikes. Now we all know Will and Diddy have been linked since the late 1990s, frequently attending events together and maintaining a long-standing friendship in the entertainment industry. Both released their debut singles around the same time, P. Diddy in 1996 and Will Smith in 1997, and have been spotted at events. In 2004, Will attended one of P. Diddy's notorious Miami parties, and there is proof of it too. Now, did he attend a freak-off there? It seems like we might not ever know. That's not all, as a 2023 interview on Jimmy Kimmel Live also resurfaced, where Diddy denied rumors involving Will Smith, Jada Pinkett Smith, and Jennifer Lopez. When asked about the rumor that Will and Jada had tried to initiate a threesome with Lopez, Diddy called the story crazy and stated, "I don't know what you're talking about." Diddy even supported Will after the infamous Oscar slap. You see, the 2022 Oscars were a night to remember for many reasons, but the main reason was Will slapped Chris Rock on live television. The incident happened due to Chris being on stage presenting an award. He made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith and her hair, which Will did not like because Jada has been open about struggling with alopecia. After the joke, Will got out of his seat and got on stage and slapped Chris Rock. He went back to his seat and continued to yell, "Keep my wife's name out of your effing mouth." Viewers and audience members were confused as to whether this was a sketch or real. As the night went on, it was clear that it was very real. Due to this, Will was banned from the Oscars for 10 years, and it's unclear if Will's projects will get released, or if he will ever be cast again. He then put out a lengthy apology, partly stating, "Violence in all its forms is poisonous and destructive. My behavior at last night's Academy Awards was unacceptable and inexcusable. I would like to publicly apologize to you, Chris. I was out of line, and I was wrong. I'm embarrassed, and my actions were not indicative of the man I want to be. I would also like to apologize to the Academy, the producers of the show, and all the attendees and everyone watching around the world."
Why didn't you apologize to Chris in your acceptance speech? I was fogged out by that point. It's all fuzzy. I've reached out to, and the message that came back is that he's not ready to talk, and when he is, he will reach out.
A lot of celebrities called Will out online, and it seemed like some of his projects wouldn't be moving forward. Someone who had Will's back though was Diddy. While introducing a segment for The Godfather's 50th anniversary, he lightheartedly stated, "Will and Chris were going to solve that like family at the gold party. But right now, we're moving on with love," according to multiple reports. Then there's all the reports about his and Jada Pinkett Smith's relationship. Jada says that she got to know another side of the actor and comedian Chris Rock while the pair filmed and promoted the 2005 animated movie Madagascar together. I found him to be quirky with an unexpected sweetness, and very intelligent, with a biting wit that's impressive if you are on the right side of it, she writes of Rock. She said she would later feel the burn of being on the wrong side when Rock targeted her during his 2016 Oscars monologue, a year that she and Smith publicly sat out the awards ceremony over the lack of nominations for industry members of color. Why me, when there were so many others who he had been even more vocal of, she writes. The dig was even more baffling to Jada, given that she says Rock once asked her out. At one point, during rumors that Will and I had divorced, Chris even called to ask me out on a date. Once he found out I wasn't divorced, we laughed and he apologized profusely, and life went on. In 2021, ahead of his memoir release, Will Smith admitted that he and Jada had an open relationship. They made headlines after the couple addressed rumors of infidelity during their marriage on Jada's candid talk show, Red Table Talk. Now, in an interview with GQ, Will has addressed the discussion and offered further insight into the period of non-monogamy in his and Jada's marriage. Will confirmed to the interviewer that both he and Jada have, with mutual agreement, engaged in sexual relationships outside of their marriage. The author noted that those who watched the Red Table Talk might have believed that Jada was the only one engaging in other sexual relationships, before adding that Will had delicately explained that this was not the case. While Will did not elaborate on his sexual experiences outside of the marriage, he did admit that he felt guilt over considering infidelity in the early phase of their relationship due to his Christian upbringing. He added that Jada never believed in conventional marriage. Jada had family members that had an unconventional relationship, Will revealed. So she grew up in a way that was very different than how I grew up. But later on, Will denied giving August Alsina permission to date Jada during this time. August Alsina spoke about a relationship he had with Jada for the first time during an interview in 2020. He said, "I totally gave myself to that relationship for years of my life, and I truly and really deeply love and have a ton of love for her." He went on to claim that Will Smith knew about the relationship and gave August and Jada his blessing. First, the couple issued a quick statement denying the relationship, but Jada announced on her Twitter that she was taking herself to the Red Table. In July 2020, the Smiths sat down at the Red Table and discussed their relationship. They spoke about a dark period in their marriage, when they thought they were going to separate and never speak again. That's when Jada and August began their relationship, or what she originally called an entanglement. Will denied giving August permission, but did know that the two were seeing each other.
It's a situation that I consider private.
You just feel like it ain't really nobody's business. But now Black Twitter has claimed it as their business.
However, their relationship came to an end once she and Will decided to try and work things out, which they did. So as you can see, Will has had a pretty crazy career and has been connected to many different celebs.
Jada Pinkett Smith has a lot of red flags, and a lot of them has to do with her love life. Now, Jada recently opened up about her relationship with the late rapper Tupac Shakur. Now, the pair first met as classmates when they were both at the Baltimore School for the Arts back in the 1980s. In 1995, Tupac served 8 months in prison, but was released pending an appeal of his conviction. Now, Jada revealed that she visited the rapper while he was serving time on Rikers Island, and included moments from their visits in her memoir. Seeing him there, the condition that he was in, and having to leave him there, he was in bad shape, she told Barnes & Jackson, before revealing that Tupac proposed to her during one of her visits. "So when he asked me to get married, I knew at the time that he needed somebody to do time with him, which I was going to do anyway. You ain't have to marry me to do time, I'm here," she said. Jada then added that she viewed the proposal as the rapper looking for a support system, and not because he loved her or wanted to get married. She noted that the marriage proposal wouldn't have amounted to anything at the end of the day. "Because our friendship and because of everything we've been through together, he just wanted to feel that solidified foundation, you know? Because I promise you, he would have married and divorced me as soon as his blank left jail." Now, upon his release from prison, the pair met for lunch, where she wrote that they had an argument. His whole vibe has changed since his association
association with Shug, she says, and writes that after expressing her concern over his new Get Down, it kicked off a hailstorm of rage in which the rapper accused Jada of having gone Hollywood. Next thing I knew, he was done talking, and so was I, she said in the memoir. Now, despite the heated disagreement, Jada says she believed she would eventually patch things up, but it was up to Shakur to break the ice first. Now, a year went by in which they didn't speak, and before they could repair the rift, he had his life ended in Las Vegas. I never once saw myself on this planet without him here, somewhere on it, she writes. I felt a huge piece of love from me leave the world, a part of myself gone, and in its place was a rageful sadness. She then also revealed a lot of information about her and Will Smith. Now, after discovering that she was pregnant, Jada revealed that Will proposed by insisting they tie the knot, saying, "There was no way I was going to have a baby without him marrying me." She said that she was scared as hell, as she recounts going to Harry Winston in Beverly Hills the next day and buying herself a pear-shaped diamond, and explained why. "By buying my own ring, I took some measure of control and sent the message to myself. All right, get with the program," she writes. Now, in the days leading up to the wedding, she wrote that Will was hyper-focused on work and wasn't really paying attention to the wedding to be or not to be. Now, her mother was a different story, as Jada said she felt pressured to have a wedding, even though she preferred to exchange vows with Will in a small mountaintop ceremony. But leave it to Adrian to plead her case to Will, she writes in the book. After she cried her eyes out on the phone, Will took her side, assuring her we would indeed have a wedding after all. And in the end, the couple married in Baltimore on New Year's Eve in 1997. Jada then admitted on Red Table Talk that she had an entanglement with R&B singer August Alsina during her marriage to Will, although they were separated at the time. Now, the world was shocked when August spoke about his relationship he had with Jada during an interview in June 2020. He said, "I totally gave myself to that relationship for years of my life, and I truly and really deeply love and have a ton of love for her." Now, he went on to claim that Will knew about the relationship and gave August and Jada his blessing. Naturally, people were shocked, as the Smiths are one of the longest lasting and famous Hollywood couples in recent history. Now, first, the couple issued a quick statement denying their relationship, but Jada then announced on her Twitter that she was taking herself to the Red Table. In July 2020, the Smiths sat down at the Red Table and discussed their relationship. They spoke about a dark period in their marriage where they thought they were going to separate and never speak again. Now, that's when Jada and August began their relationship, or what she originally called an entanglement. Now, Will denied giving August permission, but did know that the two were seeing each other. However, their relationship came to an end once Jada and Will decided to try and work things out, which they did. Then there was the whole slap incident. You see, the 2022 Oscars were a night to remember for many reasons. But the main reason was, well, Will slapped Chris Rock on live television. The incident happened due to Chris being on stage presenting an award, and he made a joke about Jada and her hair, which Will did not like because Jada has been open about struggling with alopecia. Now, after the joke, Will got out of his seat and got on stage and slapped Chris. He then went back to his seat and continued to yell, "Keep my wife's name out your effing mouth." Viewers and audience members were confused as to whether this was a sketch or real, but as the night went on, it was clear that this was the real deal. Now, due to this, Will was banned from the Oscars for 10 years, and it was unclear if Will's projects would get released or if he would ever be cast again. Now, according to Jada, the holy slap, as she refers to the moment, was a result of decades of disrespect between Will and Chris that began long before either of them knew I existed. Though she doesn't explain the origin of their bad blood, she writes that it began in the 1980s with a big ol' misunderstanding that I don't have enough therapists or lawyers to begin to explain, and it kept festering. Despite the years-long tension in which she says she and Will were dragged across many stages by Chris's jokes, by the 2022 Oscars, she writes that she believed us to be cool. However, when Rock came out on stage, she recalls in the book that she immediately felt a train wreck coming and had the sense that Rock wasn't going to be able to help himself. Though she says she wasn't shocked by the subsequent blowback she received, she was surprised at the narrative that Will had slapped Chris over me as the adulterous wife who had now driven her husband to madness with the command of one look. The vitriol in the coming days did come faster and more furiously than I predicted, she writes. Blaming the woman is nothing new, and I was clear on that. But
Jada says that she got to know another side of Chris Rock while the pair filmed and promoted their 2005 animated movie Madagascar together. I found him to be quirky, with an unexpected sweetness, and very intelligent, with a biting wit that's impressive if you're on the right side of it, she wrote about Chris. She then said she would later feel the burn of being on the wrong side when Rock targeted her during his 2016 Oscars monologue, a year that she and Will publicly sat out of the award ceremony over the lack of nominations for industry members of color. Why me, when there were so many others who had been even more vocal, she writes. Now the dig was even more baffling to Jada, given that she says Chris once asked her out. At one point, during rumors that Will and I had divorced, Chris even called me to ask me out on a date. Once he found out I wasn't divorced, we laughed and he apologized profusely and life went on. Now, what's the biggest red flag of all of this is that Jada felt the need to share all this information. I mean, no one asked for any of this, and it seemed like she overshares a lot. I mean, there was one point where she was sharing something every couple of days, and the internet was tired of it. And I mean, I know I was.
Sean Diddy Combs has had some pretty serious allegations raised against him in recent months, and now every name ever attached to his and every face ever photographed beside the man is considered a suspect in the public's eyes. Some celebrities are now attempting to clear their names before the rumors spiral out of control. At a recent performance in San Diego, Will Smith addressed the Diddy situation and basically said that he had nothing to do with it. He talked about how he was seeing all this stuff online and just really wanted to take the opportunity to clarify that while some of the memes he was seeing were funny, he really didn't have anything to do with Puffy. The PG cut of what Smith said is, "I ain't been nowhere near no darn freak off. Listen, I do enough of my own stuff. Don't be putting me in other people's business. I ain't been nowhere near that man, ain't did none of that stupid stuff, so whenever y'all hear it, if somebody says that, it's a darn lie. I don't even like baby oil." Now there are a couple things to unpack in that statement. The baby oil was probably such a weird addition if you haven't been keeping up with the Diddy situation, so let me be your guide. Let's start at the very beginning, a very good place to start. What are freak-offs? They are a type of party that Diddy would allegedly host. The freak-offs were often planned, but it seems occasionally spontaneous. From details I have been forced to gather over the months, freak-offs were allegedly primarily made of unwilling participants, often given inebriating substances to get them in the room. Some participants were also allegedly blackmailed to not just get them in the room, but to keep them quiet after. Some people claim to have been warned that if they said anything, something bad would happen to them or their loved ones. The participants were allegedly forced to intimately engage with each other. Some sources claim that celebrities would be in the room as well, and that some even wanted to be there, and that is the part that has everyone theorizing. People want to know who were the celebrities that took part in the parties, did they help put them on, and that is why every famous person that has ever breathed next to Diddy is currently under a social media investigation. Smith is hoping to close his case by saying explicitly that he never went to a freak-off. Because here's the thing, sometimes freak-offs would be the after party. Like, Diddy would host a party and then allegedly the evening would end in a freak-off. So now all the big names that were at the first party are in the pictures of what would turn into a freak-off night, and even though they never went near the unsavory part of the evening, it's still not a good look. For example, Diddy hosted an after-party for the 2005 VMAs. It was attended by stars like Paris Hilton, Eva Longoria, and more. According to the US Sun, as the party switched from a nightclub to Diddy's mansion in the early morning, the famous names had long departed the event and the festivities had turned into a freak-off. Footage from the later half of the party allegedly shows Diddy wearing the same outfit he had been in the VMAs party pics, which is how the two events were tied together. But people were saying that because Paris Hilton was photographed at the first party, she must have been involved in the later half of the evening, even though that's not true. So just because Smith might have been seen attending a Diddy bash, it doesn't mean that he attended an inappropriate Diddy bash. But on to the next line, Will Smith does have enough of his own stuff to deal with. The man is still handling the fallout of the infamous Oscar slap and everything that has come out about his marriage with Jada and more. So yeah, pile on that the Diddy stuff, and that's a lot on one's plate, especially if Smith isn't actually guilty of one of them. Like Smith said, people have been connecting him to everything Diddy has done since the two appeared so close in the early 2000s, attending the same red carpets and parties. They looked like friends. Because the pair looked so close, people were quick to wonder just how close were they? Were they close enough that Smith was in on the nefarious activity Diddy is being accused of? It's not hard to see why people might theorize about their friendship when photos resurfaced earlier this year of Smith at one of Diddy's parties, where there were some interesting positions women were put in. In 2004, Smith attended and was likewise photographed at one of Diddy's parties. From the photos Smith is in, the festivities don't look too strange, a regular party. However, other pictures seemingly taken from the same night show the more risque aspects of the evening. In one photo, you can clearly see an unclothed woman lying on a table surrounded by and with food on top of her body. She has a leaf protecting her lower half, but she is exposed everywhere else. One picture shows Combs standing over the woman and staring down at her while eating what looks like a chocolate-covered strawberry. The woman is surrounded by these strawberries, other food items, candles, leaves, etc. Apparently, the act of eating off of an unclothed woman specifically is a Japanese practice that some would consider an art, but it was outlawed in China in 2005 after it was deemed a public health concern and morally wrong. Technically, Diddy was enjoying this Japanese practice, but his past inappropriate actions have made people wonder if the woman on the table was a willing participant or forced to be there. It appears Will Smith was a guest at this particular party. In one photo, you can see him chatting with Combs, and in another, with Combs and another gentleman, while Bruce Willis sits beside them at the table. I'm guessing all these photos were taken on the same night because Diddy is wearing the same outfit as the one in the photo with the unclothed woman. Will Smith and Combs are only pictured talking to each other. It's unclear if Smith also visited the table with the woman or kept his distance, but after his statement at his performance recently, it sounds like he probably did not engage. But now for the next few lines, Smith says, "I ain't been nowhere near that man, ain't did none of that stupid stuff." Obviously he has been near that man, considering all the pictures they are in together, but we all know what he's meant. He's never been near him intimately. Although there is a little bit of lore to be dropped there. In the late 90s, early 2000s, while Diddy was dating J-Lo, a rumor made its rounds that Will Smith and his wife had propositioned J-Lo with an invitation into their bed. Allegedly, Diddy wasn't too happy with that and threatened to attack Smith. Jimmy Kimmel recently point-blank asked Diddy if this was true on live TV. At first, the music artist was still as a statue, but eventually said, "You really heard that?" and laughed the whole thing off, claiming he didn't know what Kimmel was talking about. But let's power through the end of his statement with the baby oil thing. So this probably sounds like an insane thing to just tack on to the end of a sentence if you haven't been keeping up with Diddy, but here is why Will Smith said he doesn't even like baby oil. There was an article going around a while ago that claimed that when Diddy's home was raided, like right at the beginning of this whole thing, they found lots of lubricant. Eventually, lubricant turned into baby oil specifically, and then the number 1000 was pulled. We are left with the rumor that 1000 bottles of baby oil were found in Diddy's possession. Because the number is so large, the internet took this rumor and ran with it, making memes about it. I mean, 1000 bottles of baby oil does sound completely ridiculous. Why the disgraced rapper would need a large amount anyways? He made claims like Diddy has a large house, so therefore he would buy in bulk, as if that explains the situation at all. His lawyer even roped popular bulk buying store Costco into the equation, claiming that, well, people always buy large amounts of one item there all the time. Unlucky for him, Costco was not about to have their name attached to this and was quick to detach themselves from the situation, coming out with a statement that no store in the US even carries baby oil, which, it's wild that also happened. No one expected Costco to need to release a statement claiming they aren't connected to Diddy. So that is a detailed breakdown of Will Smith's unofficial official statement. It is nice to have some clarification, but one person in particular is being especially supportive of Smith right now: 50 Cent. It's looking like 50 Cent has been waiting for the downfall of Diddy. Since the allegations came to light, the man has not let up, constantly calling the rapper out on social media, even calling out others well in advance of them officially being connected to anything. Like, he was making posts about Jay-Z's involvement, and then months later, Jay-Z was actually named in a lawsuit. 50 Cent is also making a docu-series about everything. It's apparently going to focus on Cassie, one of Diddy's most famous exes, but there is potential they will cover other lawsuits and charges too. It's set to stream on Netflix, but 50 Cent's response to Will Smith's statement was posted on Instagram of a screenshot, maybe, of an article about his statement. The caption read, "How you don't like Will Smith, man? LOL, I'm watching his movie movies on 50-cent action on Roku. People are taking this as a message of support.
So amid Jada's attempts to promote her recent memoir, she appeared in the headlines after claiming that the late hip-hop icon Tupac proposed to her while he was imprisoned at Rikers in 1995. However, a now viral TikTok video and his pals quickly shut down that whole batch of lies. So TikTok user Jessa Miami presented the timeline in a clip saying, "Her math ain't mathin'," and if you're unfamiliar with the phrase, it means that things aren't adding up or making sense. She started by mentioning the conviction in 1995 and sentencing after he was found guilty of harming Ayanna Jackson. He received a 1.5 to 4.5 years prison sentence, but he only served 9 months after Death Row Records mogul Suge Knight bailed him out. The All Eyes on Me rapper was dating Keisha Morris at the time as the alleged marriage proposal, raising more questions. She said, Tupac already had a girlfriend. He proposed to Keisha, and she said this in a September 2011 interview. And he proposed before he even went into prison, and they were already engaged. They got married in April. Jada's lying, and I have the timeline to prove it, Jess said in the clip. I can't handle these effing lies anymore. She expressed her disbelief as Jada's story suggested that Tupac proposed to her even when he was already engaged to another woman. In addition, she had already met Will Smith months before this alleged proposal and began dating him after his divorce from Cherie. So Jada made quite the headline last year when she appeared on the Today Show to promote said biography. This big reveal, the sensational headline that's meant to give her the big spotlight moment, was this. She and Will Smith, who have aggressively marketed themselves as a marriage success story, have actually been separated for the last 7 years. Or, I think. She was asked. It was a divorce on paper, but was it a divorce? And Jada said oh no, it's a divorce. So why not just announce it? Why keep up this 7-year-long charade? And Jada was well, I think not being ready yet. Even though she's had 7 years to get used to being ready. She's we're still trying to figure out between the two of us how to be in partnership. Okay, but isn't the point of divorce to no longer be in partnership? Sorry, Jada, can you just make sense, please? These are the questions any serious interviewer should be asking. But instead, everybody else and all the outlets were okay, yep, you do you, sure, let's just print it. When you have multiple podcast stories diving into this amazing love story, aggressively marketing this love story on the red carpet, and you've got Will Smith implying in his own memoir that they had weathered tough times, but they're still together. You've got him slapping Chris Rock at the Oscars to defend his wife's honor. And all that quote-unquote authenticity was just to obscure the bottom line. They weren't together. Now, Jada might have hoped her candid confession about the state of her marriage would help, sell copies of this biography, titled Worthy by the way. Reputation expert Eric Schiffer claims she's probably going to end up paying a hefty price for the shock revelations. Jada and Will's trust and reputation with the public was kind of hit hard by revealing that they were separated for this long. The two hid it from the public, appearing together to serve their self-absorbed, out-of-touch celebrity elite agenda. Now Eric, who serves as the chairman of Reputation Management Consultants, added the duo were deluded and failed to see that audiences today are easily disgusted by celebrity phoniness. Folks are now going to question and be slow to trust many of the stories in Jada's book. Somebody needs to take pictures of copies of the book in the science fiction section, or just the fiction section, please, for a joke. August Alsina first spoke about his entanglement with Jada in his interview with The Breakfast Club's Angela Yee, and revealed that oh no, we're good, Will gave us his blessing. Well, in a June 30th of 2022 statement to Page 6, Jada's representative said it was absolutely not true. So 1 month later, on her podcast, The Red Table Talk, yes, she revealed that she had an entanglement with a Make It Home rapper. She said, through that particular journey, I've learned so much about myself and was able to confront a lot of emotional immaturity, emotional insecurity, and I was really able to do some deep healing, she said about the entanglement. She also clarified that no, I'm not in an open marriage, as been speculated at the time. Instead, she said, Will and I briefly broke up. There were some marital struggles. Yeah, we know otherwise now. Tensions were incredibly high during the deeply emotional conversation, but when they wrapped up the episode, everybody was all the drama's in the past. In an exclusive interview with People, Jada claimed that once upon a time, Chris Rock asked her out on a date when reports about her and Will allegedly divorcing emerged. She said and this particular summer, Chris, he thought that we were getting a divorce. So he called me and basically he was I would love to take you out. And I was what do you mean? And he was aren't you and Will just getting a divorce? And she's no, Chris, those are just rumors. Now, while the What to Expect When You're Expecting star has yet to respond directly to the claim, a source told the Daily Mail that Chris Rock was frustrated hearing the story make it to the news. People may have started to move on, but now it's back in the limelight, and it's just frustrating that everything's coming back to the forefront. They added that Chris wanted Jada to keep his name out of her mouth. Sorry dude, turns out he was right. They were split up. They just didn't want to go public about it. They really kept up that whole damn rigmarole. So, there was once a time when Jada Pinkett Smith, one half of a Hollywood golden couple, actually made movies. But since she launched this podcast back in 2018, Jada's only really been talking about one specific thing: personal disclosures and her marriage and her naughty life. You know what I mean? Coitus. She's made her life a quote-unquote open book, but apparently now that's a work of fiction. So after 5 years of running a liquidation sale on her marital secrets and innermost thoughts, what's actually left to fill a book? Well, no worries folks. She had that ace in her pocket. Once again, she used that book to announce the divorce, or quiet separation? Like, yes, they still act like a couple in public, so I'm not quite sure what to make of it. Not a divorce on paper, but it was a divorce. Now, don't get me wrong, there are divorced couples that do have a healthy relationship for their offspring, but this is more than that. In her 2015 interview on The Howard Stern Show, Jada said she would have lost her Matrix role long before she started filming if she was 100% truthful about her pregnancy. At the time, she hid the fact that she was carrying her daughter Willow. Like, she didn't get the role of Trinity, but they kept her in mind. And they wrote this part for her, she mentioned. And I'll never forget when they called me and they were like, Jada, we have this role for you, but you're pregnant. Well, she told the crew that Willow would be out in October, even though her expected delivery was in the beginning of November. Well, luckily for everybody, Willow Smith was born on Halloween night of the year 2000, and Jada shared that she got in the gym, she got it together, she was super excited to be part of the franchise, but oof, that could not be healthy. Leah Remini told the Daily Beast in 2017 that Jada was a member of Scientology, but Jada denied this claim in a tweet. She's like, I have studied Dianetics, which that's the Scientology thing, and I appreciate the merits of study tech, but I am not a Scientologist. Okay, well, I'm gonna call a spade. 2 years later, Scientologist Sam Domingo disclosed to the Daily Mail that she had encountered Jada at the Church of Scientology Celebrity Center, which is in LA, seeing as apparently Jada was a top recruiter for the organization. Once again, she hasn't come out and said more, but Dianetics. Girl, no. So for many years, Jada has painted herself as the perfect parent for her children. Fans supported her when she said her and Will's ultimate goal was to prepare them for the world. She's like, I don't want to make decisions for you. I want to prepare you as much as I can, as quickly as possible, and give you, as much power over your life as quickly as I can. Here's the thing. Both Jaden Smith and Willow Smith have repeatedly shared struggles of having Will and Jada as their parents, saying that the spotlight made them feel terrible. And despite the contradicting experiences, yes, they did eventually express their gratitude to have their parents as their parents. Jada decided to hash up once again the 2022 Oscar slap heard around the world, and she insisted she didn't cause it. However, a lot of viewers accused her of triggering Will to do it by rolling her eyes at Chris Rock's joke about her. And a viral TikTok video supported the claim by showing the angle that captured Jada tilting forward and laughing after the slap. Another video captured Will laughing at Chris's joke, but then he immediately walked up to the stage after seeing Jada roll her eyes and show a displeased reaction. So, where's the truth here? And finally for today, a lot of folks have spotted signs that Jada might have fibbed about her struggles with alopecia. So Jada opened up about it in an early episode of the podcast, sharing that she felt terrified when she noticed her hair started falling out. She's like, it was terrifying when it first started. I was in the shower one day and then just handfuls of hair in my hands and I was like, oh my god, am I going bald? But fans, theorists, and experts have given their 2 cents over the years and stories aren't adding up. Dr. Gary Linkoff, a double board certified medic by the American Academy of Facial Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery and the American Board of Head and Neck Surgery, who also suffers from alopecia, explained that she might have mistaken or exaggerated the damage caused by the illness. Now, according to this medical expert who did not treat the actress, the alopecia Jada described on the top of her head looks like a scar that she gained from a facelift. So in his opinion, Jada's only bald because of some degree of traction alopecia, which is caused by her extreme hairstyles and yeah. So What do you think, folks?
Footage has resurfaced of Will Smith participating in a video invitation to Sean Diddy Combs' 29th birthday party, and after everything that has come out about Diddy events, people are wondering just how involved Smith was in the party's activities. We'll get into this and more today in new leaked party footage of Diddy and Will Smith changes everything. In the modern day, Page 6 is the celebrity news site that got their hands on a VHS tape. That is how old this invite is, a VHS tape of the invitation. It's a whole bunch of famous celebrities, including Oprah, Ellen, Ben Stiller, Chris Rock, and more, inviting the recipient to an exclusive Diddy bash. In this section posted to Page 6's YouTube channel, Will Smith has a featured moment saying, "You are cordially invited to celebrate the birth of P. Diddy." No expense appears to be spared. In addition to the celebrity cameos, Page 6 reports that at the time, the VHS invite would have been delivered in a black velvet pouch embroidered with the birthday gala and the date of the event, November 4th, 1998. TSG.com actually leaked this birthday invitation and location 2 days before the bash was set to happen. Because this was 1998 though when it leaked, their servers couldn't handle posting the video all at once, so it was only released in roughly 10 to 20 second chunks. And get this, barely anyone has watched these videos. Of the 5 parts, the one with the most views has 157, so it's kind of like you're the first to hear about this decades-old drama. Anyway, the footage is causing a stir because over the past year, Diddy has been hit with many lawsuits accusing the rapper of physically engaging with individuals without consent, forcing people to perform acts or consume things they do not want to, invading privacy, and generally being a bad guy and more. Some of these acts he was committing were done in private. Security footage viral earlier this year of an altercation between Diddy and a past partner of his, in which he was physically rough with her in a deserted hotel hallway. But that doesn't mean untoward things didn't take place in public. A term you are probably hearing a lot when it comes to this situation is freak off. These were parties hosted by Diddy in which all parties present would engage with each other, allegedly, not always consensually, and allegedly Diddy would film the events. Many people with suits open against the disgraced rapper who claim to have been involved in these freak-offs say they did not want to be there. However, Diddy's lawyer claims that it was all consensual. The freak-offs part of this scandal is causing problems for many of Hollywood's most famous, as it has become a thing to assume that if someone was spotted at a Diddy party, any Diddy party, then they engaged in a freak-off. That's why all the celebrities in that VHS invite that were so excited to invite people to the birthday party are now being looked at more closely. However, it is worth noting that just because someone attended a Diddy bash doesn't mean they engaged in untoward activities. Freak-offs are commonly reported to have either been planned well in advance with hotels rented and people organized, or that they were a result of late-night partying, so the after party for an event might have turned into a freak-off. Many news publications report that by the time the evening would get to freak-off status, most of the big-name celebrities would have left. Like in the case of Sean Diddy Combs' 2005 VMAs after party. This was attended by stars like Paris Hilton, Eva Longoria, and more. According to the US Sun, as the party switched from a nightclub to Diddy's mansion in the early morning, the big names had long departed the event, and well in his home, the festivities had descended into a freak-off. Footage from the later half of the party allegedly shows Diddy wearing the same outfit he had been in at the VMA party pics. That's how the two situations were connected. But sometimes, even if it's unknown if a party later became a freak-off, that doesn't mean odd things didn't happen. Smith attended and was likewise photographed at a 2004 Diddy party. Now this party in particular, from the photos Smith is in, it doesn't look too strange, a regular party setting. However, other photos that appear to be taken from the same evening show the less family-friendly side of the event. In one photo, you can see an unclothed woman lying on a table surrounded by and with food on top of her body. She has a leaf to protect her lower half, however she is exposed everywhere else. One picture shows Combs standing over that woman and staring down at her while eating what appears to be a chocolate strawberry. The woman is surrounded by chocolate strawberries, grapes, candles, and other food items. The act of eating off an unclothed woman is actually a known Japanese practice that some would consider an art, but was outlawed in China in 2005 after it was deemed a public health concern and morally wrong. Despite the photos from this particular party being available for decades, people are now just starting to analyze them due to all the accusations against Combs. Technically, Diddy was enjoying a Japanese practice, but his past inappropriate actions have made people wonder if the woman on the table was as willing a participant or forced to be there. Again, due to Combs wearing the same outfits in photos with the woman and then later with Will Smith. It appears Smith was in attendance at this particular party. Will Smith and Combs are only pictured talking to one another. It's unclear if Smith also visited that table with the woman or kept his distance. Another example of a Diddy party with freaky elements would be his November 2004 birthday bash. The room was lined with raised levels with curtains at the back, so if guests didn't want to be on the dance floor, they could watch from above, which is admittedly not odd. The weird part came later. As the night went on, the curtains were drawn back to reveal beds, booths, and water-filled porcelain bathtubs. The article also states that screens started displaying the text King Diddy. The booths would be standard for a party setting, but the beds and bathtubs, we don't need that. Now that the public is aware of Diddy's disturbing activities behind closed doors, it makes the inclusion of the beds and baths so much worse. The article goes on to confirm that in addition to the famous individuals at the party, it was also attended by performers like acrobats, go-go dancers, and those in other similar lines of work. This article does not touch on if the bathtubs or the beds were used for anything other than a break from tearing up the dance floor. While the VHS invitation is certainly extravagant, it's not the only time Diddy has sent invites as fancy as his events. For his 2002 VMAs after party, the rapper sent out old-timey looking invitations accompanied by, literally, a golden ticket. The golden ticket had all the party details, whereas the paper contained the dress code and other event rules. The men were required to have a clean-shaven haircut. The women also needed to have fancy hair, but also mani-pedis and to be waxed. And everyone had to be dressed up. He specifically called for top designers to be worn, like Gucci, YSL, you get the picture. All in all, little is known about this exclusive event, but the end of the invite features a line that is so much worse with the present-day context added to it. Don't disturb the fancy. Sure, this could mean just show up looking your best so you don't stand out among the other fancy people, but after learning about the beds from a later party, the women on the table, and the freak-offs, it reads as much, much weirder. But the big question, is this invitation real? No idea. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend at the time because I was probably off somewhere learning to walk. Nowadays, as I search for a source, the party was so long ago that there really isn't much. Plus, an invite like this would be really hard to get your hands on. Other than TSG.com, one other news site posted the invite, this time featuring that golden ticket and envelopes. There is a chance that it is in fact real. Either way, the party happened, and if the don't disturb the activities is as weird as it sounds today, then we don't really have to wonder if some untoward things happened at this extravagant affair. But to bring it back as to why you probably clicked this video, the connection between Diddy and Will Smith. Their history includes more than just partying. A rumor made its rounds that while Diddy was dating J-Lo back in the late 90s, early 2000s, Will Smith and his wife had propositioned the Jenny from the Block singer with an invitation to join them in bed. Allegedly, Diddy wasn't too happy with that and threatened to attack Smith. A wild rumor that found its way into a more recent segment of Jimmy Kimmel Live. Never one to shy away from anything, Kimmel straight up asked the rapper if this was true. At first, the music artist made absolutely no movements. He looked very serious, eventually breaking to respond with, "You really heard that?" and laughed the whole thing off, claiming he didn't know what Kimmel was talking about. The talk show host played into the bit, making a remark about how one can't believe everything they read on the internet. Even if the rumor proved to be true, Smith and Combs must have worked it out, considering they were pictured at multiple events together in later years, including the premiere of Hancock in 2008. Yes, plus, in a wild turn of fate, Diddy happened to be the person speaking next at the Oscars the year Will Smith rocked Chris Rock live on television. After the moment, Diddy had come out on stage and said, "I did not know that this year was going to be the most exciting Oscars ever. Okay, Will and Chris, we're going to solve that like family at the gold party, okay? But right now, we are moving on with love." P. Diddy was also one of the first to jump to Smith's defense after that incident. But funny enough, Chris Rock was also heavily featured in that VHS birthday invite we kicked this video off with. It's a small world up there in Hollywood.
First up, Jada's cheating past. While on a break with husband Will Smith, Jada decided to find another lover and found R&B singer August Alsina, who was 23 at the time when Jada was 45. 4.5 years ago, I started a friendship with August and we actually became really good friends, she said on an episode of Red Table Talk. And it all started with him just needing some help, me wanting to help his health and his mental state. But a Hollywood actress close to the couple told the Post in 2020, quote, "Jada said she was mentoring him. She did not help him. She helped destroy him." The fans were furious when they found out that Jada was the reason Jaden started substances, let's call it. Jada Smith spoke at a conference about substances and seemingly admitted that his mother was to thank for their use in his family. After Pop Crave shared that Jada had reportedly introduced her Hollywood famous family to drugs, many fans used the outlet's Twitter thread to criticize her actions. One person slammed by saying, "Unserious family. She gotta be the worst mom in the world. Why this family so weird? Like I've never seen one normal headline about them," a second asked. Jada was also exposed for supporting her husband, Will Smith, after he slapped Oscars host Chris Rock on stage. Jada Pinkett Smith, who has been married to Will for nearly 25 years, finally broke her silence on the altercation months after the Oscars incident in June 2022 on an episode of her Facebook Watch series Red Table Talk. "My deepest hope is that these two intelligent and capable men have an opportunity to heal, talk this out, and reconcile," she said at the time. "The state of the world today, we need them both, and we all actually need one another more than ever." She also noted that she has Will's back in the aftermath of the scandal, adding, "Until then, Will and I are continuing to do what we have done for the last 28 years, and that is to keep figuring out this thing called life together." The View talk show panelist ripped into Jada for her candid interviews and tell-all memoir that detailed her struggling marriage with Will Smith. The Matrix Reloaded actress Jada recently revealed that she had been separated from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air star since 2016, but she still considers him, quote, her life partner. "I actually love celebrity gossip, you guys know it, but this couple, everything I know about them is like against my will," Alyssa Farah Griffin said on October 17th on The View. Alyssa noted that while she may make fun of her own husband, Justin Griffin, there is still a fine line in their marriage. "We all share about our personal lives, but I would never say something that humiliates, demeans, or shames my husband," she explains. "What I think has been hard to watch, and I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt, I think she's probably somebody who processes things by talking them out, and she's chosen to do it in the public eye, unfortunately. But what she's missing is taking care of her partner and father of her children, who you see the pain on his face in these interviews," she continued, noting that while she's a huge fan of Will Smith, she still believes the separated couple still have an unhealthy dynamic. However, co-host Sunny Hostin reminded the View panel that Will already admitted to approaching marriage very differently from his former partner. She had experience in her family open marriages, Hostin said, whereas in his family, he saw it as a much more traditional way, but he loved her so much he was willing to change for her. Joy Behar interrupted to add, quote, "But you can love somebody a lot and not allow them to emasculate you. You have to stand up for yourself." Fellow panelist Sarah Haynes also pointed out that Jada wanted to keep her promise of never getting a divorce, and yet she doesn't refer to Will as her husband. They no longer live together and they are romantically involved with other people. Their kids are hurting, but they're going to call it a not broken promise when you broke every promise along the way, she said. Jada is also known to be vicious to Will's ex-lovers. Jada spoke about a woman who had stepped over a boundary when it came to her husband on an episode of her show Red Table Talk. "I might have gotten a little hostile where I felt like people stepped over a boundary and they were disrespectful," Jada said during a conversation with Ayesha Curry and her family. The actress continued saying, "I know who I am, and more importantly, he knows who I am. Right?" Jada's mother, Adrienne Norris, then said the responsibility is more on the men. Jada agreed and added, "I think also you need to have an internal space of confidence. At the end of the day, that's part of it." Another embarrassing Jada moment is the infamous Stephen Colbert interview. Stephen Colbert interviewed Jada about her memoir, and it was, let's just say, awkward. In one segment of the interview, Jada noted that the Oscars brought her and Will closer together, to which Stephen replied, "Really? That helped? How so?" Jada Smith also confessed that she, quote, really did not want to get married to Will. In fact, the actress admitted to crying down the freaking aisle, she says, before tying the knot with the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air star on New Year's Eve 1997. I was under so much pressure, being a young actress, being young, and I was just pregnant, and I didn't know what to do, declared Jada. I never wanted to be married. Pinkett Smith candidly recalls her mother, Adrienne Norris, also known as Gammy, forcing her daughter and Will to wed after she became pregnant with their first child together, now son Jaden. I really didn't want to get married, she says, while seated around a circular table with her mom as well as Will and their daughter Willow Smith. We only got married because Gammy was crying. A chuckling Jada informed her daughter Willow. I do remember wanting you and Will to get married, but I don't remember your rejection of the idea of marriage, her mom added. I remember the rejection of the idea of a wedding, but never of a marriage. Jada then recalled being browbeaten into big day submission. And now Gammy gone to Will crying about, I don't want a wedding, and now I'm being forced to have a wedding. She says, I just wanted it to be the two of us on a mountain because I was like, this is serious business. Will Smith gave a stern warning to his wife Jada, saying, quote, don't use me for clout, in a resurfaced 2019 video that was going viral on social media. The 49-second clip, which was initially filmed by Jada on her Instagram Live, has clocked thousands of views on Reddit since it popped up in the wake of Smith's assault on Chris Rock at the Oscars 2 years ago. Jada initially made the video to promote her chat show Red Table Talk, with the vision showing her state. You know, our therapist, Esther Perel, is coming to the table. She's gonna be at the red table, she says. She then flashed the camera to her husband and asks, would you say she's been instrumental in you and I redefining our relationship? Will looks extremely irritated in the video and responds, I would say don't just start filming me without asking me. Jada seemingly brushes off her husband's request, telling viewers that she is, quote, still dealing with his foolishness. She then continues to probe her movie star spouse, saying, would you say she helped us heal the hurts that we caused between one another? The continued questioning is clearly frustrating Will, who snaps back, saying, my social media presence is my bread and butter, so you cannot just use me for social media. Don't just start rolling. I'm standing in my house. Do not start rolling. Next up, let's talk about Jada oversharing about not only Will Smith, but her kids as well. I knew the night that Jaden, her son, lost his virginity, she says. I had a moment with Trey in the kitchen where I looked at Jaden and I said, you've done it. And he ran into the bathroom. I was like, you don't have to be embarrassed. She also revealed on her talk show that she cried of sadness when she found out that she was pregnant with him. Yikes. I was under so much pressure being a young actress, being young, pregnant. I was just like, I don't know what to do. Lastly, let's discuss that infamous Will Smith Oscar slap once again, and let's see what celebrities had to say about it. Mila Kunis told C Magazine in 2022 that she was stunned that so many people in the audience at the 2022 Oscars stood up when Will Smith won his Oscar after he already slapped Chris. Not standing up to me was a no-brainer, but what was shocking to me was how many people did stand up, she says. I thought, wow, what a time we're living in, that rather than do what's right, people focus on doing what looks good. It's insane to me. Sharon Osbourne also shared her thoughts on the slap in an April interview a month after the awards with the Sunday Times. When he wins the Best Actor award, everybody stands up, she says. It's like you're such hypocrites. You're gonna go home and say how disgraceful his behavior was, but you stand up and give him a standing ovation.